Good evening. We're going to start the special meeting, public hearing to order at this time. We're going to ask our clerk to read the roll.
Bolden.
Aye.
Boyes.
Aye.
Connor. Davis. DeShazier.
Present.
Fusco. Garrett. Hannah.
Aye.
Sorry for the delay. Councilman Garrett is joining the meeting now. Kamer.
Aye.
Lombardo.
Aye.
McKittrick.
Aye.
Amobian.
Aye.
And Somerville.
Aye.
All members are present.
We have one item up for a public hearing, and at this time, our clerk will read in item number 1.
Notice is hereby given that the following open comment public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, July 28, 2025, during a special meeting to be held at 5 p.m. Ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a dual-use marijuana dispensary at 1956 West Market Street. This notice was advertised in the Akron Beacon Journal on July 12th and on the Akron City Council website beginning July 10th.
Mr. Antonucci?
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Tango Ventures is seeking permission to establish a dual-use marijuana dispensary called Clutch Cannabis at this location. The petitioner proposes to construct a single-story flat-roof building containing 2,480 square feet of area. The building will be flush with the sidewalk on West Market Street, consistent with the other buildings in the block. Building materials will consist of stacked bond brick, metal panels, and corrugated metal siding. A designated delivery area with secure fencing and a gate will be located southwest of the building. The existing parking lot to the south along Frank Boulevard will be reconfigured to accommodate 22 parking spaces. The petitioner intends to operate the dispensary daily from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. With respect to traffic, the petitioner provided data quantifying the average number of daily trips by the hour the business is expected to generate. The city's traffic engineer reviewed the information and concluded that the impact on the existing traffic operations would be minimal and that further study would not be needed. While the current parking area is in a degraded state, the proposed landscape parking redesign will allow adjacent businesses to maintain vehicular access to the rear of their properties. Solid fencing along a portion of the western property line will buffer any activity from the abutting apartment uses. Lighting and video surveillance, in addition to other state requirements for packaging and prohibited activities on the property, should mitigate any negative effects on the surrounding neighborhood. The proposed construction of the dual-use dispensary would repurpose an almost decade-long vacant lot at a prominent intersection and will be harmonious with abutting uses. And both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval subject to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Antonucci. At this time, we're going to open up our public hearing. I'm going to ask all those who wish to speak in favor or against item number 1, if you'll please stand at this time so that you may be sworn in by our clerk.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth? If so, please say, "I do."
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to begin with those who wish to speak in favor. So if we can begin with our petitioner, Mr. Pete Nish, if you want to start us off.
Hi again. Good to be here, and thanks for having me. So I do not have plans right now to go through my entire deck again. I have a brief one-pager that I had prepared for council just to go over the finer points of it, and I can pass that out now, or I can pass it out later after the special meeting, before the regular meeting. But I'm here to answer any questions that y'all may have, and I'm happy to do so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Pete, if you have that document, we can make sure that all council members get it.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank
And
you.
if you'd like me to go over this now, I can.
If you would like to, you're more than welcome to do so.
Sure.
Yes.
All right.
It's
I'll wait
going
till they-
around, yeah, a few more minutes.
You got it. All right. So again, thank you all for having me. I'm going to try to make this short and sweet. I can do this again at the next meeting if you'd like as well, in case there are others in attendance. But essentially, I wanted to talk about traffic, safety and security, how this is going to impact neighboring properties, and then talk about how it's going to benefit the community. All right. So number one at the top, traffic. This is one of the lightest possible uses for this retail zone property. It pales in comparison to other restaurants, bars, shops, et cetera, that could locate here. Traffic is going to be low. I have provided data. It's been reviewed by Planning Commission, Planning Department, Planning and Economic Development Committee, showing that we expect, around 100 to 120 transactions a day. That is what we typically see at other dispensaries, not only run by us, but the data was derived directly from our own operations in Canton and Lorraine, where we have been operating safely and compliantly for years. Traffic is controlled, so 50 to 60% of the transactions occur through online pre-orders. The way that works is somebody goes to our website, they built out a cart, they let us know what they want. They have to select from a predetermined list of pickup windows, and once those windows are taken, they're no longer available to others. That is a way for us to regulate the flow of traffic in and out of the dispensary, and it directly impacts 50 to 60% of the transactions. Visits are short. Average length of customer visit is between 5 and 10 minutes. We want to get people in and out as quickly as possible. We think that traffic in this strip is going to be lower than it has been in years past now that Larry's is no longer operating as a public business. I used to go in there when it was open and there'd be 50 or 60 people in there, all night. This is not going to be like that at all. We also have ample parking. We are code required to have 13 spaces. Instead, we have 22 on site and an additional 10 overflow parking spaces that are located just down the street. That would be enough, for instance, to park all of our employees so that the lot directly behind the building would be open and available for those who decide to visit the store. As far as safety and security is concerned, this will be the most secure facility in the neighborhood. It exceeds what is required for pharmacies. We have an on-site security team whenever we're operating. These personnel manage controlled access within the building. They manage customer traffic. They manage the parking lot. They help us keep our inventory secure, and they help us enforce our zero-tolerance policies for loitering, on-site consumption, littering, and other mischief. We have 24/7 overlapping HD camera coverage throughout the interior and the exterior of the building. This includes the parking lot. The footage, as I mentioned, includes multiple angles of overlapping coverage and bank teller style coverage at each point of sale, so every point of sale has a camera directly above it. All the footage is stored in the cloud for at least 45 days and is accessible by the Division of Cannabis Control, both live footage and recorded footage, and anytime they can log in and view. Then they can go back a month and a half if they need to. We have also a history of sharing this footage with law enforcement. I mentioned that in the committee hearing where we have opted in Cleveland to share, to make this exterior footage available to law enforcement. It's part of a program that's run there. We have shared footage in the past with other local law enforcement officials. I would encourage you guys, if you have questions, to please contact Dave Garrow. He's our contact at APD who inspects our facility annually as part of our local license for our cultivation and processing operation. This security apparatus or scheme is state approved. It has to be vetted and maintained according to their standards. It includes, in addition to the cameras, motion detectors, like I mentioned, controlled access, silent and audible alarms, secure storage facilities for all inventory. These are built like fortresses, and we don't have problems for that reason. We also have 24/7 third-party security monitoring. So we have a long-standing relationship with a local security company, actually several, and they provide ample monitoring even after hours to ensure quick response times. They contact law enforcement if an alarm goes off or anything like that, something triggers. They make sure that those who need to know are in the know immediately. Number 3, approval by neighboring property owners. At this point, none are opposing the dispensary coming to 1956 West Market Street. We have the property currently housing Pink Petals under contract. Larry's main entrance is now private, but I handed out during the committee meeting a letter of support from one of the owners of that site. And Ken Stewart's, while I know that they were initially expressing some concerns, we have reached an agreement with Ken Stewart that involves the installation of a gate in the alley, which I guess is privately owned, behind his restaurant, as well as additional security and signage, wayfinding, literature stuff on our website to make sure that customers who choose to visit our store know where to park and where not to park. I wanted to mention, we are an award-winning operation. We have been recognized both in the state of Ohio and nationally for what we're doing within the cannabis industry, the legal cannabis industry. In 2024, we were voted best brand in the state. 2024, we were voted as having the best product in the state. And we have been named by the Global Cannabis Times, which is a well-known industry publication. As its name implies, it is an international publication, as having built some of the coolest dispensaries in the world. And I encourage you all to visit us in Canton or Lorain or Loudonville or Cleveland when it's open, Northfield when it's open. I also handed out some pictures in there in the deck. We build really, really beautiful stores. We spare no expense. We put our best foot forward every time. Finally, how does this store benefit the community? We are looking to continue our longstanding partnership with the City of Akron, where we have already invested tens upon tens of millions of dollars through this business in the city, redeveloping properties and hiring people. We employ over 300 people at this time, and most of them work right here in the City of Akron. We are going to be providing access to medication for chronic and debilitating medical conditions. This is for people who suffer from things like cancer, epilepsy, everything from epilepsy and cancer to migraines, arthritis, Crohn's disease. I'm a Crohn's patient. I've been in the program since it started in 2018, and I can talk a little bit about my personal experience using cannabis as a medicine for that. We are going to be generating tax revenue that goes directly to the city, which you can spend for any approved purpose. It goes into your general fund. There was some question, this is through the host community fund, which Issue 2 established. What it says is there's a 10% excise tax on adult use cannabis sales. 36% of that goes directly into this host community fund. From there, it's passed directly back to the communities within which the sales were generated, okay? That works out to be the equivalent of a 3.6% sales tax on all adult use cannabis sales. The confusion here was there was, I guess, a mechanism in Issue 2 that was missing that allowed the state to turn around and give the money back to local communities, as it was supposed to do. Then there was some confusion about whether or not the legislature and the governor in the budget were going to preserve the host community fund at all. I'm happy to report that after the budget was passed and after the legislature considered a number of different changes to the medical and adult use marijuana legislation or marijuana laws in Ohio, the conclusion they came to was to preserve the host community fund as it was written in perpetuity. My understanding is that is largely due to the advocacy of local communities and elected officials in those communities to their state reps and state senators, telling them how important this money was to these communities. And so, like I said, we're happy to report it's staying put, and I think that they also implemented that mechanism, so these local communities should be starting to see the tax revenue that has been collected and held by the state already. Finally, jobs. I mentioned how many people we already employ and how many people we already employ in the city. We're going to be creating probably 15 new jobs here, offering a living wage, health insurance, which includes full medical and dental and vision coverage. We have an 80-20 plan with Medical Mutual, and we also were, I think, the first cannabis company in the state to offer a company-matched 401k. That is typical in other industries, as I mentioned earlier today. It's not typical in cannabis because it's difficult to find somebody willing to bank a 401k program for a cannabis company due to federal issues. However, Due to the kind of operator that we are and our history of compliance, safety, security, all these things that I'm talking about today, we've been able to secure that. As a result of increasing our wages and being committed to great health care plans, retirement plans, and things for our employees, training, onboarding, all kinds of stuff, I can tell you also that our turnover rate is way lower than industry average. Our employees are happy. We consider ourselves a good operator. We're proud to be headquartered here in Akron, and it has been our dream to have a flagship store located right here in the city that we all call home. I'm really grateful for your time here and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? And then we're just going to ask, just for the record, if you can just give us your name and your address.
Sure. My name is Matt Miller. I'm president of LRC Realty, and our address is 1585 Frederick Boulevard in Akron, Ohio. We are currently the owner of the existing property that we're talking about, and we also own several properties contiguous to this. We own the Taco Bell, we own the Starbucks right there, the Walgreens, and the AutoZone, amongst other properties in Akron. So despite the fact that we're selling this asset, we still have a significant investment in this immediate area. And so we support this transaction and this use for this space. We think it's a good use for the site, and ultimately it's going to enhance the area. It's not going to impact traffic like some of the other uses that we've had. So we've owned this property now for a decade, and we've had quick serve restaurants, we've had high-end restaurants, banks, to name a few, the type of uses that we've looked at, all of which would have had a much larger impact to traffic and to the disruption of the surrounding area. The drive-through of a typical QSR is loud, there's speakers, and so at the end of the day, we think this is a great use, and we're in favor of this project.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Is there anyone wishing to speak against here in chambers? Okay, you can approach the podium. Reverend Beatty, you can start if you like.
I am opposed to this use.
Reverend Beatty, if you can just give us your name and address for the record.
Reverend John Beatty, 2047 Wyndham Road, Akron, 44313. I'd like to give a little background. The first time that I was aware of marijuana was in East Harlem at a tienda, and somebody came in smoking a joint. I also was aware of marijuana use in East St. Louis. I befriended a gang there when the sermon was to be on, as you've done unto the least of these, you've done unto me. And after hearing the cussing and screaming and uproar in the alley behind the church I served at that time, I decided, well, the Lord told me, I feel, that you can't preach this sermon unless you go out and meet these young men, which I did. And it changed my life. Many of them drank, but they were aware of they called them druggies, of people that use marijuana. They stayed away from it. And since then, marijuana has become much, much more stronger. And I'm opposed on this site for moral and religious reasons. However, I would beg to differ about the use of this property. It sits right next door to Larry's and Pink Petals, and one of the most distinguished restaurants in the area, Ken, I've forgotten the name, Ken Stewart, yes. In terms of traffic congestion, I myself have seen a motorcycle rider back in when the family was stopped at the traffic light of where Frank Boulevard crosses Market. They were stopped on Market Street, and this motorcycle rider ran into the back of this car. He flipped over the car, slid down the hood, lay there for a while, and then struggled off to call his girlfriend. Fortunately, he was not injured enough to go to the hospital. The traffic there is extreme, and I know that Taco Bell, whom one of the owner of this property, faced a lot of disagreement over the installation of Taco Bell. The traffic congestion in this site is terrific, morning or evening, and especially when there's school going on Market Street, down on the street is Resnick. We have a lot of business. We not have, Highland Square has one pharmacy. This site has two, side by side, with the AutoZone in between them. There are a lot of businesses behind AutoZone as you head up towards the north. I believe that the health of the ward will be hurt if we put another business, especially a marijuana business, at this site. My proposal is that the owner of the property look with the city council for some alternative uses. I have one. In this site with so many small businesses producing traffic, why not make this a pocket city park with trees and privacy and quiet in the midst of all of this extremely busy traffic, pedestrian traffic going on? I voted for the legalization of marijuana, not because I believe people should partake of this, which has become more and more deadly in a sense of what it does to young people, particularly 25 and under. Dr. Joyce Penfield, who has spoken here before, informed me this morning that she has seen, and I personally have seen, a young man who could not think hardly at all enough to speak intelligibly. That's one man that I encountered that had been addicted to marijuana. Joyce has seen several as her in her former job, among many others, as a chaplain, a prison chaplain, where young men could not figure out, could not think, because their cognitive abilities were so degraded from the early use of marijuana. I do not believe that this dispensary will improve our neighborhood. I believe that we need to think alternatively. I'm willing to go to many, many houses in Ward 8 to try to raise funds for a pocket civic park. that we sorely need in this sorely congested area. That's why I'm against this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against?
Hello, my name is Regina Milan. I am the owner of the business Pink Petals, so I thought it would be good to show up here. I live at 237 Castle Boulevard, so also a Ward 8 resident, and I am opposed for several reasons. Number one, I would say, is the traffic, because I sit there every day and I watch the traffic on West Market Street. I've seen numerous accidents at that corner and at the corner with Starbucks. I see the bus traffic. I see children walking to the schools. There's parks. There's Hardesty Park that was just packed this weekend with the Art Expo. That neighborhood has a lot of walkers and bicyclists and all of that, and I don't feel that this is the safest use of the property. I'm not going to get into the pros and cons of marijuana. I like what the Reverend here said, that I don't think it's the right thing for the health of that neighborhood at all. There's too many residential areas there, and I just don't think that that's the right fit. I think there could be other areas that this would fit into better. The traffic, though, is a big thing, and as the owner of that business, I know that alley that they're talking about with Ken Stewart's. I don't understand how a gate's going to help anything. My deliveries and my customers come in that alley. I only have 2 parking spots because of all of this. That's how it's played out. I'm able to survive with 2 parking spots because I am a florist and we park over at Ken's. He allows us to park there during the day. But how blocking this with a gate is going to benefit anyone coming to me or Ken, I don't understand at all. It's a one-way alley. But it does affect my business, and I just am opposed to it for those reasons. And I just don't think it's the right thing for this neighborhood. There's a lot of other things that would be much better use of that space. And I have been there now since 2012. I have planned to stay in that area. I don't know what will happen if my building is sold. I know they're negotiating to buy it. And if they do, my lease is up next year. I'm sure that no one has told me what they want to do with me. And it affects my business in that, I mean, I'm a successful small business in Akron, so it affects me that with what I do, I book brides, bridal weddings, and events sometimes 18, 24 months in advance. And so to not be able to book, I'm telling my brides right now, there's no rush, we can take our time, where I have brides waiting to know if I'm going to do their florals for them and take on these events. So it's really put me in a hard spot, and that's why I am here, and I've written a letter about it. So, but that's my feeling on the subject. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Gwendolyn L. Holland. I live at 477 White Pond Drive. And I am vehemently against this particular building because for a lot of us who live at 477 White Pond Drive, we take the bus to Summit Mall, to Giant Eagle, to Marks, Aldi's. And the bus stop is at the corner. The number 1 will drop you the corner of Frank and Market, where we have to wait for the 26 to take us to our apartment buildings. So the idea of being able to have to stand in that environment for the next bus to come, because the 1 runs on a regular basis, the 26 does not. We have to stand and wait or sit at that corner at that bench to wait for the bus to come. That's during the daylight, that's during the night times. That's a contradiction for us. I mean, some of us are on rollators, some of us are on walkers, some of us are on canes, but that's our way of transportation. We also walk. I walk to Frank Boulevard on numerous occasions. So my concern is the element of being able to look vulnerable in that environment. You know, you got your groceries, you got your bags, you've got your cane, but we have to be there. This is where we go. This is our neighborhood. The gentleman this morning was saying he was 15 minutes away. If you're 15 minutes away, you are not in my neighborhood. So, but also it's the fact that, let me calm down. A lot of people don't really know about this issue. I found it on a fluke. I was scrolling through Google and saw an article that was dated July 16th. I immediately went to the library to try and get a copy of that article, which was not in the paper when I got there. They looked for it, but that article that I saw online wasn't in the July 16th newspaper. And so I'm thinking that there are a lot of people who are unaware that this is going to be in our neighborhood and the possibilities of that. My concern about the traffic is because no one has decided, has mentioned the new development that is right there across from First Energy. That's going to be a lot of traffic coming through there, as well as Frank Boulevard and West Market. When they were saying they didn't have any more reason to investigate, I'm wondering, did they incorporate the traffic from that with the traffic that they're going to do over at Mall as well, coming through White Pond? You have three new developments coming here. Mall Circle, White Pond right across from First Energy, and now you'll have this. Did they actually research the possibility of the volume that that's going to create within the next few months? When they actually opened up that development, they said they're going to have a dog park and storage area and residential things. That's going to be a lot of traffic. Was that incorporated in your traffic study? That's one of my other concerns. And the idea that if there are people in the neighborhood who don't have a clue that this is going on, it's not fair to us. We vote. And I was concerned about the vote. The percentages on the sheet says 62% agreed. Well, the 62% that agreed, how many of them are actually, how do you compare that with the actual voting people, the registered voters in that ward? Was it really 62% of the ward, or how many were actually voting? You know, a lot of times there's not a large voter turnout, but that doesn't mean that everyone is in an agreement with what was done. So my concern is how many people know about this, understand the ramifications, and have been properly informed of what we're going to be dealing with. I walk the street. I don't think I'm going to be comfortable. In fact, I know I'm not going to be comfortable walking to Frank Boulevard with a cane or with groceries and wondering who or what or where are they, and what can I do about that? So I'm asking you to consider, there's a full senior citizen building over there, and there are other seniors. We don't walk well, we ride the bus. You're putting us at risk. Daylight, nighttime, especially in the fall. A few more months, it's going to be dark at 5 o'clock. We will be coming out. We will have to come out. That should be taken in consideration, because this is where we live too. This is where we've been living for years. So I'm asking you to think broader about who really voted for it, who's in that neighborhood, what can you do to help us? That park he was saying would be great, because you have to stand at that bus stop. When you're trying to get there at 26, there's no bench there, there's no shelter there. You have to stand. There's only one bench, it's at the corner, and it's got shrubs around it. Reconsider the actual neighborhood and who's paying you some money. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in chambers wishing to speak against?
Patricia Post, 1919 Larchmont Road, Akron, Ohio. I also work at Pink Petals. I wonder who did the traffic study. There is never a day that goes by you don't understand that they're stopped at Starbucks with a line. The light changes, and you automatically go, and boom, you've just rear-ended the person waiting to turn into Starbucks. Then you have the people coming either from the east or the west, and they're turning on to go in to Taco Bell. No one knows that. All of a sudden, they make a very quick turn, and they're slamming on their brakes, and so are the people behind them. And it goes on all day long. We hear it. Most of them are just little fender benders. Most of them are not turned in, but it happens. And then you have the alley that is behind us that is just for deliveries and trucks, and it's one way. So the trucks coming in are large trucks, and they're coming off of Market Street, and they're trying to make this turn into the small alley. And there's cars all around. And I'm not opposed to a dispensary. I'm just thinking this is a little strip of land that has been very hard to sell because of its location and because of the congestion there. And we can have a dispensary if the city votes on it. Why can't the people vote on whether they want a dispensary? Why can't it be brought up to the people? It has been very quiet. This is being pushed through very quickly, if you ask me. And the people of the ward that it's in, just like the liquor stores and things, should get a vote. And you're not allowing that to happen. Plus the mere fact that we know that Pink Petals is under contract if this goes through. Like the owner said, we have weddings scheduled out for next year. Are they just going to kick us out right away? Are they going to let us stay till June 30th? What are we going to be doing? And I just think you have we got caught up in it unfairly. And I think the council needs to know that there's other people involved and that perhaps this isn't the best place for a dispensary. I've lived here long enough to see how West Market Street has changed. And it has changed with quick loan places. It has changed with the pawn shop. Now we're going to have a dispensary. If that's the case, then ask the people. Let the people vote. Don't push this through tonight because it's easy and it's already almost done from what we hear. Don't push it through. Let the people that live there say what they want. And if it passes, so be it. But let the people, don't just push this through. Nobody knows this is coming. This is just, it's a very small few. And I wouldn't know if I didn't work at Pink Petals. And I didn't know that our lease may be up and we may be pushed out. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against here in the chambers? You may approach the podium.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Hooray. I live at 1392 Haddon Circle in Ward 8. Sorry, I just get nervous. This is my neighborhood. This is my community. This is where I have invested 32 years of my married life into my property, into my home, and I don't think this is a good return on my investment. I'm not here to go against the merits of marijuana use. It's up to individuals, whatever they want to do, but I don't think it needs to be in my neighborhood. And as this young lady spoke about, there are bus stops there. I know there's a 500 feet rule of putting a building like this there. There's a park, there's a church, there's a school, all with not in much more than 500 feet. Maybe it's 750, I don't know. But it's like it's the trifecta of what you don't want one of these near. I don't know if all of you are aware that parents bring their children to that bus stop to walk down to the school. We're a very, very walkable neighborhood from many sectors of Ward 8. Many people walk to church on Sunday morning. Many people walk to Pink Petals. I go there, I also go to Ken Stewart's. I just don't think this is a mix for this neighborhood. I think we can do better. I think we deserve better. Let me look at my notes, excuse me. In our discussions with Tango, and I just listened to them at our Ward 8 meeting and today, they talk a lot about the merits of this. And I don't think anybody's here about the merits of marijuana use. The majority of us are here for the location. And that's what we don't hear a lot about, is location. And I think that's the huge factor. And I think that's the neighborhood factor. And I think that's part of business integrity, is being a good neighbor. And I don't think this is a good neighbor for us. This is a long-time neighborhood with a lot of great little pockets of long time. I have talked to, since our Ward 8 meeting last week, probably 50 residents. No one knew anything about this. And I just think, if you don't do anything else tonight, table it. Let people know about it. Let's hear from other people. Let's hear from the residents, the neighbors, the people who made the investment of their lives in this neighborhood, because it is a big deal. There are plenty of other places, vacant properties in retail malls that are available. Put one in downtown Akron. Let it be their neighbor, because that probably wouldn't happen. And just as you wouldn't want it downtown, we don't want it in our neighborhood. So I just ask you to give pause, think about it, let more people know about it. And I'm a proud resident of Ward 8, and I hope to continue. But like I said, I don't think it's a good return on my investment.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against? I do believe we have some individuals online. Do we have anyone online that wishes to speak against? And you can unmute yourself and just give us your name and your address.
My name is Richard Lasky. I live at 214 Castle Boulevard. I'm about 5 minutes away from 1956 West Market Street. I use that area a lot. I'm at the drugstores frequently, AutoZone, and many, I won't be long here. I'll make this very brief. I heard a lot of good reasons from those who are opposed, and I think those all make a lot of good sense. I would also want to say that I did a little side trip checking out some of the other dispensaries. There's one in particular that got my attention on North Street. It's a completely different neighborhood. It's hard to even call it a neighborhood. There's nothing much around. There's a small parking lot right there, and with a short walk away, there's an overflow parking lot. There's a lot of traffic there. I talked to people coming out of there saying that it didn't take 5 or 10 minutes. It was more like 20 or 30 minutes, and they were lined up. It was a bit of a traffic jam even to get into the overflow. My point is, there should be places like that this could be located. We can have another dispensary in Akron. I'm sure we can find another location, something like the one on North Street, and that would solve all of the problems and the objections that were brought up by these other people who are opposed. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak against? Seeing and hearing none, at this time, we're going to close our public hearing. I want to thank all of those who took the time to come down and participate. Councilman Fusco.
I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules. Kamer.
Aye.
Connor. Aye. Boyes.
Aye.
Hannah.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. As we all know here, many of us have lived this from the very beginning in terms of whenever the state had proposed the medical marijuana, which began in, I believe, 2017, 2018, some time ago. And many of us disagree with a lot of what the state does. I think if you look at our resolutions, you'll see that. However, in terms of the marijuana piece, I believe, and I'll stand and testify that the state has got this right in terms of marijuana, in terms of the regulations that they put in place under the medical piece. And now they're asked to follow basically those same laws whenever it comes to the recreational piece. And so I think that's a lot of what we have in the back of our minds. In terms of the traffic, the bringing forward these concerns is understandable. The Traffic Bureau did say based on, and whenever they make these decisions, it's based on historical data on the use that is proposed whenever they review this. Every department in the city, as we all know, they have to review every application that comes in. And I believe this application came in early in May, I believe. And also, the security is heightened as a result of those state laws that we talk about. We even have had discussions with folks that own businesses around the ones that have been established, and whereas they're experiencing less crime because of the heightened security that goes on. And many of us follow, and I know for a fact, as we talk all the time, many of us follow the life of a conditional use proposal from the beginning to a vote by the city council. And I believe, due to the fact that this came in June 13th, I believe, to the Planning Commission, we all watched that. They took time, which gave us additional time to study this as well. And so I believe that is why we're looking to vote on this evening. And with that, we're recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments at this time? Councilman Bolden?
Thank you, Madam President. I've been going over this with people in the ward and on council, and also with members from Tango and Clutch here. I understand concerns on both sides. I understand the traffic. I understand those that don't like marijuana usage. I understand that marijuana usage is legal. It's something it was voted into law. The issue is the residents that I have spoken to, the vast majority of them are against this in Ward 8. I will say some things, though, that we did have discussions on it. I did what I could. We brought this up at my June ward meeting and spent probably a good half an hour talking about it there. I put it in my monthly newsletter that would hit about 1,700 people, and that most of them are in the ward. Went out to those people, and we discussed it at length we had representatives from Tango give a presentation, and with a question and answer period in the ward. So people could hear about this and answer the questions. The traffic, I understand. It's a busy intersection. It's not, and it's not going to get less busy, and no matter what happens in this day and age. But the way I feel for myself is I was elected to represent those in my ward and their views. And the vast majority, I'm going to say, of the calls that I've had, I haven't had too many that are in favor of it, because I don't think they really are out there talking about it. But at the ward meeting and at this, I have to go along with those people in my ward and represent them the way I want it to be, and I'm going to vote no on this, because I don't think it should pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Amobian?
Thank you, Madam President. As I indicated this afternoon, I am opposed to this. I know that the traffic at that intersection is busy, extremely busy. No matter how we try to understate that, there are lots of days when I drive that intersection where I have to wait to turn, whether I'm going left or right. It is a very congested area, and this is not going to make it less. I'm very concerned about that. Mr. Nitch gave a very thorough presentation. There's no question about that, but I am opposed to it. I did vote for the legislation, but I do not want a dispensary in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Hanna?
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, it takes me back a year and a half ago when I first got on council, and we had this same ordinance, not the same, but a different ordinance, that a company wanted to come into our neighborhood and put a business in that neighborhood that the neighbors did not want to see come into our neighborhood. You gave a very good presentation, and I'm not against the
Councilman Hanna, I'm going to ask that you direct your comments to the chair. Thank you.
I like that. But I'm not against the marijuana dispensaries, but if we don't start listening to the residents, then when? If not now, colleagues, when? And the residents in that area have spoken volumes. We've had testimony here this evening, and you know, I was surprised that the business at Pink Petals, I thought they were all in agreement with that, but now I know they don't own the building. So what happens to them when their contract is up at this location? And I experienced that traffic at Frank Boulevard and West Market last week. I didn't take anybody's say-so about that traffic, but I was there, and I understand exactly what these residents are saying. Even though it's not in my ward, I went there to see for myself and experience it for myself. And as a council person, I'm asking my colleagues, if not now, when?
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Lombardo?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm looking at this with a company that, you know, believes in Akron. They've invested in Akron, a very philanthropic company, both personally and on the corporate level. And I've said this afternoon too, but, you know, as far as the traffic is concerned, I mean, that nobody is stopping, you know, Taco Bell from giving away free tacos on Tuesday or whatever. I mean, who knows where all that traffic is coming from? That's not their fault for wanting to, you know, invest in that corner. But anyhow, the security of the company is top-notch. They seem to have gone overboard on making the neighborhood safer. They were working with the Akron Police Department at times when they need their surveillance cameras, and they're very willing to, you know, offer that to the APD to solve, you know, whatever crime that happened. But just going overboard with things. It's a beautiful building, and also, they also, as far as, you know, the security and I had one more item, but anyhow, they're just, I think that they'll be good for the neighborhood. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time? Just one comment, you know, this body is considering the land use, right? And so it's not really whether or not we agree with marijuana use or whether or not we have a real understanding. And my heart goes out to the owner of Pink Petals in terms of what the future of that business looks like. You know, we are to look at land use, you know, and I think one of the things that we heard today through the detailed presentation is that this proposed land is a good use for what we're talking about today. This property has been up for sale, and any type of business could purchase it and could move in there. That could bring even more traffic to the neighborhood. I think there are some benefits that I'm hoping that the community will understand, and that is one is that you're dealing with a company where Akron, too, is their home, right? Many of those who are a part of this company live in Ward 8, and they are committed to not only making sure that Akron is successful, but also that the ward is successful. And so I think those are some things that are really important. And also just want to appreciate the fact of how they have ranked safety and security, all those things, again, which the community is going to be able to benefit from. Thank you. Councilman Fusco?
Just as we had heard, you know, this property has been up for sale for some time. But I think it's important to also indicate that it's a retail use facing West Market Street in a busy corner. It is in everything that's under that umbrella in terms of retail use is permitted. So, if you just think about that, that's another piece of that. And this here, based on data that we had received, and based on real data, the number of visitors is lower than a lot of the other uses that has been asked. I share the concerns referencing Frank Boulevard and West Market and navigating that area, but what we've heard is it's going to be minimal in terms of the amount of actual visitors to the location on an hourly basis. So again, this is already zoned basically retail. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other comments at this time? At this time, we do have the committee's report is favorable. With suspension of the rules, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Would be no.
No.
Can I
We're going to do a roll call.
Thank you. Bolden?
No.
Boys?
Aye.
Connor? Davis? DeShazier?
Aye.
Fusco? Garrett?
Aye.
Hannah?
Nay.
Kamer?
Aye.
Lombardo?
Aye.
McKittrick?
Aye.
Amobian?
Nay.
And Somerville.
Aye.
This ordinance passes 10-3.
Thank you. If there's nothing else coming before this committee, meeting adjourned.
This concludes our public hearing. Council will meet in regular session at 6:30. Thank you.